There's one thing Jesus called his followers that most Christians never fully understand, and when you really get it, it changes how you see every interaction, every opportunity, and every day of your life. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." Not that you should try to be, not that you might become. You are the light of the world. But what does that actually mean, and how do you live it out today? Let me start with what light actually does. Light doesn't announce itself. It doesn't argue with darkness or try to convince darkness to change. Light simply shows up and darkness has no choice but to retreat. That's exactly what you're called to do in a world that desperately needs hope. In Matthew chapter 5 verses 14 to 16, Jesus says something revolutionary. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Notice Jesus doesn't say, try to be light, or work really hard to become light. He says you are light. The moment you trust Jesus, his light takes up residence in you. The question isn't whether you have light. The question is whether you're letting it shine. But here's where most people get confused. They think being God's light means being perfect, having all the answers, or never struggling with anything. That's not what light is. Light is simply revealing what's really there. And what's really there when Jesus lives in you is hope in the middle of hopelessness, peace in the middle of chaos, and love in the middle of hatred. Think about this. When you walk into a dark room and flip on a light switch, the light doesn't have to work hard to push out the darkness. Darkness isn't a force that fights back. Darkness is simply the absence of light. The moment light shows up, darkness disappears automatically. That's what happens when you show up as God's light. You don't have to argue people into believing. You don't have to convince anyone that God is real. You just have to be who God made you to be, and people will see the difference. So how do you actually do this? How do you be God's light in practical, everyday situations? First, understand that God's light shines through authenticity, not perfection. People aren't drawn to perfect people. They're drawn to real people who have found real hope. When you're honest about your struggles while also being honest about God's faithfulness, that's when light shines brightest. Second, realize that sometimes being light means simply being present. You don't always have to say something profound or fix someone's problems. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just show up. Be the person who listens without judging, who stays when others leave, who brings calm into chaos just by being there. Third, let your actions speak louder than your words. Jesus said, people will see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Good deeds aren't just big dramatic gestures. They're small acts of kindness, moments of generosity, choosing patience when you could choose anger, offering forgiveness when you've been hurt. Here's what I love about being God's light. It's not about your personality type. Introverts can be light by offering deep, meaningful conversations and genuine care. Extroverts can be light by bringing joy and energy into difficult situations. Quiet people can be light through acts of service. Outgoing people can be light through encouragement and hope. The light isn't your personality. The light is Jesus in you, and he knows exactly how to shine through who you are. But let's get specific. What does this look like at work? It looks like being the person who doesn't participate in gossip, who treats everyone with respect regardless of their position, who does excellent work as an act of worship. It's being reliable, honest, and kind even when no one is watching. What does it look like in your family? It looks like being quick to forgive, slow to anger, generous with encouragement. It's choosing to serve instead of demanding to be served, choosing to build up instead of tear down. What does it look like in your community? It looks like being the neighbor people can count on, the friend who shows up in crisis, the person who brings hope into conversations instead of just adding to the complaining. Here's the amazing thing. You don't have to manufacture this light. You just have to stop hiding it. Jesus said people don't light a lamp and put it under a bowl. But that's exactly what we do when we're afraid of what people will think, when we're worried about standing out, when we convince ourselves that our light isn't bright enough to matter. Your light matters. Your kindness matters. Your integrity matters. Your hope matters. Your presence matters. Even when you can't see the impact, God is using your light to change lives and circumstances in ways you'll never know this side of heaven. When you start intentionally living as God's light, you stop being so focused on your own problems. When you're looking for ways to bring light into other people's darkness, your own troubles start to feel more manageable. Here's the beautiful paradox. The more you give away God's light, the brighter your own life becomes. It's like a candle that lights other candles. It doesn't lose any of its own light by sharing it. Jesus ended his teaching about being light with a purpose, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. This isn't about getting credit or recognition for yourself. This is about people seeing something different in you and realizing that God must be real because of the change they see in your life. You are God's light in a dark world, not because you're perfect, but because perfect love lives in you. Not because you have all the answers, but because you know the one who does. Not because your life is easy, but because you found hope that's stronger than any circumstance. The world around you is waiting for someone to turn on the light. God has chosen you to be that someone. The question isn't whether you're qualified. The question is, will you let His light shine through you today? Your workplace needs God's light. Your family needs God's light. Your neighborhood needs God's light. And God has specifically placed you in those exact places to be His light. So stop hiding under a bowl. Stop dimming your light because you think it's not bright enough. Step into who God made you to be and watch how He uses your light to change the world around you, one person and one moment at a time. If this message inspired you to step into your calling as God's light, let me know in the comments. What's one way you're going to let your light shine brighter this week?